Hello everybody and welcome back to artofdino.com with another Tartarian Tales, this time number 86, and it is an incredibly visionary tale of a Tartarian wedding, Tamerlane's grandson, and it appeared in an article from 1910 in the newspaper, but the story itself is from 1402, and it is awesome. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it's from Tamerlane's account and a few other people who were there, their written accounts of the incredible event, and it is awesome. I found it it was the only one that was in one of the newspapers. I didn't find multiples of this article, which I usually do with a lot of them, but this was just one that was found, and it was just really great. Incredible descriptions. And again, compare them to the weddings now. You always have to compare my videos to the times that we are living in, because that's where the incredible differences lie. And a lot of the intentions can be seen through that, from how the world has been controlled and manipulated through time, because they wanted to get rid of all this kind of amazing stuff that used to occur, this royalty, this lifestyle that we have no idea about, with these buildings, elaborate ceremonies, people putting in effort all over the place for the good of everyone and joining in together for these huge festivals, ceremonies. Just wait till you see the description here. It's like an absolutely amazing celebration that is unprecedented, to be honest, and I wish I was there. So you can all dive into this fantasy as well as I read the story, and get ready, because this is just beautiful. So here we go. Big Tartar Wedding, Tamerlane's account of grandson's nuptials. 2 months festival, lasted 2 months. The ruler exercised no power during the long ceremonial. Guests were all made wealthy, that's pretty sweet. Splendor of occasion probably never surpassed. Marvelous pageant produced. And that is what you get when you run the world, and that is what happened when you have the world united and people like you as a leader. Nowadays, our leaders, especially nowadays in America, our leader is not liked by anyone officially. So the big difference here. And again, this is from 1402, from an article written out of Constantinople on September 30th, 1910, which begins, "This is the story of a wedding at Samarkand in Turkestan, Central Asia, in the year 1402, as told by an emperor, he who was the greatest warrior in the history of Asia and one of the greatest statesmen, Timur the Tartar, or Tamerlane, as he is better known, the Grand Khan of Tartary. He conquered the entire continent with the exception of China. His dominions extended from Moscow and Constantinople to Calcutta, and from the Arctic to the Indian Ocean. The historian Gibbon, in his Roman Empire, speaks of this wedding festival as an act of religion as well as paternal tenderness. The pomp of the ancient caliphs was revived in the nuptials. They were celebrated in the gardens of Kanishul, decorated with innumerable tents and pavilions, which displayed the luxury of a great city in the spoils of a victorious camp. Whole forests were cut down to supply fuel for the kitchens. The plain was spread with pyramids of meat and vases of every liquor, to which thousands of guests were courteously invited." Sounds like a blast. "The public joy was testified by illuminations and masquerades. The trades of Samarkand passed in review, and every trade was emulous to execute some quaint device, some marvelous pageant, with the materials of their peculiar art." I bet you there were a lot of inventions that we take for granted unleashed at this time. Illuminations, masquerades, and trades of all different kinds. It must have been amazing. Their peculiar art, I just can't even fathom what that would be like. After the marriage contracts had been ratified by the Cadis, the bridegrooms and the brides retired to their nuptial chambers. 9 times, according to the Asiatic fashion, they were dressed and undressed, and at each change of apparel, pearls and rubies were showered on their heads and contemptuously abandoned to their attendants. A general indulgence was proclaimed. Every law was relaxed. Every pleasure was allowed. The people were free. The sovereign was idle. And the historian of Timur may well remark that after devoting 50 years to the attainment of empire, the only happy period of his life was the 2 months in which he ceased to exercise his power. That is awesome. And it means he must have let loose. He must have just had a blast. Everyone must have had a blast. What a ceremony. 2 months. Absolutely amazing. And it's not like the stuff that's like crammed down your throat with like the royal people's weddings, who are just like nobody cares about except like the absolute foolish. This is a much different time, and they took out none of the stops. Everything was just ready and awesome, and everyone was celebrating, from the emperor down, the king of the world at the time down. Tamerlane's curious account. Tamerlane seems to have been so proud of this display and to have had so good an opinion of himself that he indulged in a rhapsody over the festival and wrote a detailed account of the event for his memoirs. That's pretty sweet. It has been said that no man can adequately describe either a battle or a ball but Timur the Tartar, the scourge of God, the conqueror of Asia, has produced as graphic a picture of a wedding festival as the most accomplished pen painter of this age. This guy could do it all. His account of the event in his memoirs is as follows. When the tents in Sarapurdas, or royal tents, were erected and properly decorated with magnificent furniture, with carpets of costly silk, with golden thrones and chairs of state, with vessels of gold and silver, rich cups of agate and crystal, I, the emir, in a fortunate hour, repaired to the royal tent, which was built for the occasion and supported by 12 poles, richly inlaid with gold and silver, and adorned with the utmost magnificence. Here I seated myself on the throne of empire, whilst my sons and grandsons, my emirs and sirdars of high renown, each took their respective places, surrounding me on all sides. Next I directed the Sayyids, descendants of the Prophet, the learned men of the realm, the Qazis, Mustis, and others, to take up their proper places in this illustrious assembly. Place for foreign ambassadors. In the same manner, the ambassadors of foreign powers from Kipchak, from Egypt, Syria, and Asia Minor, from Hindustan and Europe, were allotted their respective stations. Next, the commanders of Hussar Jats, or regiments of 1,000, those of the Sad Jats of 100, the magistrates of the city of Samarkand, and judges of the police from different parts of the empire, were introduced, clothed in royal chalets, or dresses of honor, and took their places accordingly. Before the door of the royal tent were drawn up the elephants brought from India, of enormous stature and decorated with the most magnificent trappings of silk, velvet, and curious embroidery, with howdahs flaming with gold and silver, and chains of the same precious metals. In order to render this festival as splendid as possible, I had collected from every part of the empire the most skillful artificers of every kind. These, with the assistance of the different companies of tradesmen within the city of Samarkand, and those of the imperial camp, such as jewelers, goldsmiths, masons, carpenters, bricklayers, embroiderers, weavers, etc., had erected upward of 100 chartakis, or pavilions, supported by 4 poles each, and containing as many doors to each. The insides of these pavilions were elegantly decorated with carots of the richest kind, embroidered with gold and silver, with velvets and the finest stuff from China and Europe, with magnificent chairs. Each tent was ornamented with the particular badge of the artificer who erected it. They were likewise furnished with paintings done in the most exquisite taste, and exhibited within and without a most glorious spectacle, such as the eye of mortal had never before beheld, and which caused the spectator to place the finger of astonishment within his mouth on beholding. Very cool. I wonder what those paintings were. That would be a priceless thing, to have a painting from one of the royal pavilions of the wedding of Tamerlane's grandson. That would be awesome. And I wonder if it exists somewhere, or if it's lost to time. You never know, but this is still the description of all from Timur's own words. So here we go. Performers to amuse. To enhance the pleasure of this august assembly, performers of all kinds and descriptions had been collected from far and near, mimics, buffoons, singers, dancers, and every profession which contributes to the amusement and entertainment of the great. When this festival, then, which the eye had not beheld one more splendid, nor the ear heard of one equal, became complete, I, in a fortunate moment, directed men learned in the stars and skilled in the motions of the heavenly bodies to extract from the almanacs and by the astrolabe and quadrant to inspect the situation of the propitious and unfortunate stars, that they might with precision draw forth a happy moment for the celebration of the nuptials of my beloved grandsons, who had long since been betrothed to virgins dwelling in the asylum of chastity. Which being done, I ordered that the ceremony should be performed agreeably to the established faith of Muhammad and the ordinances of our holy religion. So the quadrant and astrolabe were definitely being rocked and well known at this time, and he had all his guys out to pick the holy day. And I love that. These people, again, kind of like the Maya, their calendar, and most other ancient cultures, their calendar was very important in the celestial events they cared about very deeply. And there was a lot more and a lot more different auspicious days than we know about now. But here we go. These things being performed, a prayer for the health and prosperity of my illustrious progeny was recited in public by the venerable Shaykh Adin Muhammad Riza, an imam of much celebrity. Likewise, the Mulavi Sila Adin, the Qazi at Kazat of Samarkand, a person eminent for his piety and learning, bestowed his benediction in public upon the fortunate bridegroom. After the marriage ceremony had been conducted agreeably to the ordinance of Hanifa, I commanded the drums and trumpets in the imperial music to strike up, after which trays filled with gold and silver, with jewels and precious stones of all sorts, were brought forth, and I directed the Nasari to be performed, which was done agreeably to established custom, and a profusion of wealth was poured upon the heads of this august assembly. Wow, that's quite a thing. That absolutely destroys all these liberals and their Emmy Awards packages of like spa treatments and God knows what other nasty stuff. I'd much rather be at a party like this and receive some precious jewels and stones and treasures from around the universe. Sumptuous repast served. When the marriage was concluded, I ordered a sumptuous repast to be served, at which the Amir Zaz, or princes of the blood, the Orma, or nobles, Nuinan, the foreign ambassadors, and all the nobility assembled. A variety of gold and silver dishes filled with the most costly viands were served to the assembly, nor were there wanting wines of the finest quality, presented by cupbearers of graceful shapes. At this banquet likewise were assembled companies of the most eminent singers in the empire and dancers of approved skill, to the amount of many thousands, wow, who by their excellence in their respective professions afforded delight to the spectators. That must have sounded incredible. Among the foremost of these performers was Khawaja Abdulaziz, who bore the palm of preeminence from his competitors, and whose equal is not to be found on earth. There came likewise reciters of poetry and storytellers from all parts of my dominions to this solemnity, and among them were Turks, Moguls, Chinese, and Russians. When the hearts of this august company became warm with wine and good cheer, I ordered the kalats to be brought forth and distributed, first to the Amir Zadaz, or princes of the blood, the Orma, the nobility, the Nuinan, and the learned men of the realms, foreign ambassadors, and others. These khalats consisted of dresses of gold and silver tissue, silks and velvets of various kinds and patterns, embroidered caps and sashes for the waist, scimitars inlaid with gold and set in precious stones, horses from the best breeds of Arabia and Persia, with saddles and housings of gold and silver. In short, such a profusion of wealth was distributed on this auspicious occasion that no one present had any care for the remainder of his days, nor on this occasion were the poor and needy forgotten, for I directed my almoners to provide for them in the most ample manner, and to furnish them with all things necessary, both of apparel and provision. Wow, this dude knew how to party. That is really cool. All change. He was very happy. That's amazing. I love how they said this was the happiest time of his life too. That's really cool. You can tell in his writing. All change raiment. When the repast was finished, the whole company changed their dresses, during which ceremony the musicians and dancers exerted themselves to charm by their melodious voices and the gracefulness of their actions. At length, the fortunate moment being arrived, the Amir Zadaz who had been married, each returned to his respective mahal, or palace, which had been prepared for the occasion with the utmost magnificence and splendor, after which I rose and retired into the apartments of privacy, where I was met on my entrance by the whole of the sultanas of inviolate chastity, who, wishing me joy on this auspicious festival, showered upon my head trays full of the most precious jewels. That's also so weird. They're just like getting jewels and riches like poured on them, like it's like I don't know, like it's a liquid or like it's something like a healing power. I don't know. It's pretty interesting how this happens. In the morning, or maybe even putting the jewels and stuff near your head, like how they wear them in crowns and all that thing. Maybe there's something very magical about that we're missing. Here we go. In the morning, I waited upon the Amir Zadaz, bride and groom, and paid them compliments and congratulations on their marriage. Wishing them a long and prosperous life, I directed the Nisari to be performed a second time, and was followed by the sultans, the Orma, the Nuwinan, the whole of the nobility, and the great men of the city of Samarkand. When the ceremony was performed, I returned to the royal garga, or imperial tent, and seated myself on the throne of empire, and having called the ambassadors, who had arrived from Egypt, Syria, Europe, the desert of Kapchak, Mogulistan, Hindustan, and Rum, Asia Minor, I directed them to be invested with khalates of the utmost magnificence, and presented them with fine horses, with embroidered housings, with scimitars inlaid with jewels, with golden poniards, and caps and sashes of the finest cashmere wool. And in honor of these auspicious marriages, I commanded the festival to be held for 2 months in that agreeable and delicious valley, where everything that art and nature could afford was introduced, and the whole time was a season of mirth, joy, and gladness. Wow, that is a really nice. In honor, I commanded the festival to be held for 2 months in the agreeable and delicious valley, where everything that art and nature could afford was introduced. That is just very cool. Sea of joy and mirth and gladness. The guy has beautiful words. After conquering the world, he conquered writing too. The guy just could do it all. I guarantee that everything we think about him is totally different than it was. Everything that survived has got to be so different than what the reality of that whole world and that lifestyle in that world and everything was like. I have a feeling they've made us think it was a lot worse when in actuality it was really spectacular. Like this shows. At the conclusion, everyone was dismissed with suitable presents. I then turned my thoughts to the management of the affairs of my empire in my long meditated project of conquering the kingdom of Kota, China. Wow. So right when the couple months and the celebration was done, I don't know if he even made it through the whole couple months. He right away was ready for conquering again. And I wonder what was happening between him and China, and again, if that was just the last thing on his mind, or if he, there's always stuff going on between. I think about nowadays, all the different little interconnections going on between all these countries, all the little tiny things, the trade, the illegal things happening, the nastiness going on, the sneakiness, the spies, everything. There's always so much going on. So for us to just kind of look at it and be like, oh, he was just continuously conquering people, well, it's so light. We don't know any of it. We don't know any of the real, actual reality of the splendid myriad of details that comes with any bit of history and past, especially when you are the empire of almost the entire world. So there's no telling. And again, we see all these, they have masons, they have all these people, all these arts from all this area that were building amazing things. And we've seen so many stories where tens of thousands of amazing buildings were destroyed by governments in world wars and earlier as well. So for hundreds of years, people have been destroying what I think these people built and the people before them built. And if they built it all over the place, they definitely built it in America too. And are these the same civilization that built the state houses and everything in each one of our states in America and all over the world, the same style of building? Is this the people under Tamerlane that were able to do this, to spread their civilization far and wide? And have we just been bombarded by so many different directions of lies ever since that it's just, the evil has taken over and gotten rid of all of this splendor and magnificence? And that's why we never had leaders like this. We only have leaders that are terrible. But hopefully one day that will change. Maybe sooner than we think, but the way things are going here in this realm, probably not. But you never know. Could be more out there. There's so much more to come. Every week there's something new to think about, and something new comes along the horizon of thought for all of us. So I wanted to just provide you with some great visionary ability in the words of Timur, and to take you back to a time when things were absolutely splendid. The time when we know that we can feel it in our bodies, that we were destined for, or that maybe our past lives had been to and experienced, but now we see just the shreds and the ruins and the rubble and the corrections and all the nonsense that comes with civilization nowadays that's gone so far off this path that it's unrecognizably evil and weird. And hopefully this magnificence and splendor and celebration of art and nature and harmony and all kinds of things will come back and ravage the world in a beautiful, perfect way where we can all unite and be amazing. Not unite in a terrible way like they want to do, unite in a beautiful way like the ancients did. So who knows, but let's keep on digging and keep on thinking, and I'd love to hear what you all have to say, so chime in below. What do you think of this wedding? Would you like to go? I sure would. But either way, bless you all. Check out artofdino.com and saveearth.us.